this is Jasmine, and welcome to Monster Monday. On the first Monday of each month, I'll be sharing a piece of art that revolves around the creation of fantasy monsters and animals for the world that I've created called Seraph. I'm going to be going about these illustrations in different ways, and some days you'll get complete artworks, other days concept work. Today I'm going to be using these Discover American Wildlife cards that my mom bought me at the Hoh Rainforest here in Washington to come up with some different ideas that I may turn into finalized creatures sometime. This kind of thing helps me come up with unique creatures that I never would have thought up on my own. There's also various websites that have random animal generators out there that you can use. My first set of animals are a possum, badger, and mountain lion. I'm going to be making 4 creatures today, and I'm just going to go with whatever comes to mind first, working quick and sketchy. I decided to go with the compact, stout body and digging claws of a badger, the face of a mountain lion, and the fur, tail, and ears of a possum. I'm trying to blend everything into a cohesive animal rather than simply making a Frankenstein critter. I think it turned out looking a bit like some kind of prehistoric mammal. I picture it as a marsupial like a possum. My next animals are an Arctic fox, a Steller's jay, which we have tons of out here, and a striped skunk. After some thought, I decided to make a prominent crown of feathers for this creature, like those of the jays, and place them on a pointed wedge-shaped face reminiscent of the skunk and fox. For the body, I went with a definite fox shape, but I gave it the raised bushy tail of the skunk and the jay wings. In my mind, this would be a small forager with a strong musk to deter predators, but if all else fails, there's always flight. I figure it would live in lightly wooded areas and keep its young in thick nests, well protected in the forest canopy. But an animal like this could really go a lot of ways. Next up we have a lynx, one of my favorite animals, a gray squirrel, and a great gray owl. So I already had one bird in my mixes, and I wanted this one to be a bit different. This time I decided to give my animal the owl's face and try a little more dynamic of a pose to show its great shaggy talons. I also placed the lynx ears on this guy since they're one of their most iconic features. The pose gave me a lot of trouble, and I kept having to erase and redraw the hindquarters over and over again, but I went with a griffin-like feel and kept the feline legs and chest, but gave it the long fluffy tail of a squirrel. This one could be large or small, but I feel like it would keep the lynx proportions, something like a small wingless griffin. My last animals are a wood frog, river otter, and a black bear. But I decided that for something different, I would keep this one an amphibian. I went with somewhat bear-like proportions, but the long sticky toes of the wood frog. And I kept the form a little more elongated like the otter, as well as giving it a long tail. This would probably help it in swimming and for balance on land, but I had to redraw it a bunch to get it right. This guy would definitely be a large lake or swamp dweller. Most amphibians are voracious predators that will attack anything they can fit in their mouths, and the thought of one the size of a bear is pretty scary. The face itself I wanted to be bear-like, and I only remembered partway through that I wanted its mammal-like teeth to be showing. The face gave me so much trouble, but I didn't want to worry overly about it because these are just supposed to be concept sketches. Before I started coloring, I brought my kitten Pixie in to review the sketches. She thinks they're a perfect resting spot and maybe a place to take a bath too. After I scan my artwork in, I use Photoshop to adjust the levels until my sketch is dark, but the background is white. And then I give them some quick, rough color on a separate layer that I set to multiply blending mode, which works best if your base color is white or close to it. You don't have to have Photoshop though. Other cheaper programs can do this, and I think that the free program GIMP can as well. For the first creature, I went mostly with the colors of a possum, but I also incorporated some facial markings of a mountain lion, the white stripe, and the dark paws of a badger. My second creature got a base color of blue and the white ticked markings of the Steller's jay. I struggled a little to find a color pattern that I liked for the body, but I settled on a dark coat with a lighter underside and a white facial stripe like a skunk. I also went in with some vibrant blues to give it a bit of an iridescent feel because jays have shiny, shimmery feathers. My thoughts are that this whole animal would have a glossy look. The third creature got mostly the colors of the gray squirrel, which actually has a lot of brown tones to it, but I also went with the dark tipped tail and ears of the lynx, which can have a lot of brown in their coats as well. The white ticked pattern to this one's feathers is probably my favorite part. I think it turned out really neat, and the big dark talons look pretty intimidating. For the last creature, I went with the dark body and light face of a black bear, then I built upon it with the wood frog's markings, and worked those colors into the base as well. In the end, the bear's markings are mostly gone, but they don't really have much markings anyway. Let me know in the comments below which of these creatures you'd like to see a full illustration of, and if you like this type of video, I'd love it if you subscribe. I'll be back with another Monster Monday in the beginning of October, and I'll be uploading more time-lapse and tutorials in the meantime. Thanks for stopping by!